Hey guys, this is Dr. Shannon Crawford with 7MCulture, and today we are on the mountain of arts and entertainment. And I would love to introduce you to my dear friend, Jacquin Headen. She is a sister and amazing, just life doer person that I love. And I think she has such a fascinating story. I don't think we could actually cover it in one episode, but at least for those artisans out there and entrepreneurs and those that are kind of stepping in, using your gift, we thought, why not have practical wisdom? Somebody who's gone ahead, who is really successful as an interior designer, a fine artisan, and also creating her own home interior line with rugs and pillows and actually sourcing it in ethical ways to make sure people are not being taken advantage of. And so I just thought how fun to get to hear some of her story and some of the practical bumps along the road, the authentic, the real of her own journey. So she hails from Chicago, met her honey, he is so cute, in North Carolina in college, and he even switched his major to law so that he could get to know this one. Could you blame him? And so they are just the cutest couple, and they're both attorneys, and they have really great entrepreneurial and business and negotiation skills and all that. And then she's had this major pivot of following the Lord with what she believes is her true gift. And she still uses all the legal stuff, but just seeing this blossom has been really fun as a friend. So I thought she would maybe share, what does that look like to be an entrepreneur in a totally different field? She went from law. So we went from the government mountain, and now she's starting at the little bottom, or she's now doing quite well, but starting to climb up that arts and entertainment and design and creativity. And so I would love for her to share, what was that pivot like for you of totally transitioning?
Thank you, Shannon. Beautiful intro. Shannon does the best introductions. Like I said, changing careers is not easy, but with God behind you, you can do anything. And I think I'm definitely a testament to that, because I changed careers from the legal profession to my creative career, interior design, fine arts painting, in a new city, new state where I didn't know anyone. So I didn't already have a base of family or a local church or a local neighborhood or somewhere where I was immediately pulling clients from, which I think when you think about it that way and say, okay, and you still manage to get somewhere, that shows you if it's your gift will make room for you. So
no excuses.
No excuses.
If you have something that's burning in your heart and it's just like this leap, and every time you think about it, there's a longing, God's put that in you, and he will often set you up in a situation that's ridiculous, and then he proves himself so faithful on your behalf.
Amen. Amen. I love that. And for me, I didn't have a budget for this. I didn't plan to go into entrepreneurship. So it's not like I had saved up some large sum for launching a business, which means another reason not to have an excuse, because you don't necessarily need a lot of money.
Come on.
There are certain things where you're going to need some kind of fancy equipment, but a lot of creative career paths, you don't need all that.
Yeah.
Graphic design, I've known people who are self-taught, YouTube. You can get a lot of resources. Skillshare.com, $9 a month. Skillshare.com has really excellent, very technical tutorials for a lot of different things. Cooking, languages, graphic design, software. They teach a lot of different softwares and creative things. So in any case, if you didn't get a degree in this creative thing, that doesn't mean you can't do it. If you don't have a budget for it, it doesn't mean you can't do it. I started with a free website.
So did I, y'all.
There you go. Dr. Shannon Crawford started with a free website.
So janky, like real bad.
Now, but what that is what my pastor calls putting legs on your faith. You gotta give it some legs so the Lord can work with it.
Do your part.
You get your, maybe janky, maybe not, but you get your website up. The Lord can work with that. And then try to be consistent with putting your gift forward. When I say consistency, maybe that's a blog where maybe at least I would recommend once a week at minimum. I started 3 days a week, but that was a lot actually.
But you may need to do that. You may need to plan ahead and schedule it. So that would be one of my questions. As a creative person, do you wait for inspiration to feel like doing something creative? Or do you have some kind of a schedule or a plan? How do you do that?
I had a schedule. I had a schedule where I would write down, I would get a notebook, and I would pre-planned topics.
Oh, that's nice.
And you will get inspiration. As you get inspiration, then you write down another topic. But as a creative, whether you're a makeup artist, event planner, you know, interior designer, painter, I mean, there's a lot of creative careers, but there's a lot of ways you can create content people will be very interested in, whether it's showing your work, showing your process. People love the interpersonal connection of what do you do behind the scenes, what's your day like? Or tips. Tips are huge. People love a good tip. Maybe you're showing them, you know, how to pose for a headshot, or how to arrange your family for family photos, or best way to, you know, do your eye makeup if you're a makeup artist. But tips for how to. If people come to expect that they're going to get a tip or an interesting nugget from you, they are going to start to feel invested and want to keep returning to your website, where hopefully you can sell them something in the future. Consistency is key. Get a social media platform. These things sound basic, but you'll be surprised how all of a sudden nerves can set in when you're launching into your new creative thing. Well, presumably you are already interested, but it's new for you that it's your business. And I got nervous, you know. I wasn't I was an outgoing person, but then when it came to now I got to show my work to the world that I hadn't been doing this creative thing, I was really nervous about it. I was so nervous that I waited like 2 years before I opened a social media page for my business. So don't do what I did. Just go ahead and get started. Like I say, your gifts will make room for you. So I didn't have any money. I did the free website and I just started trying to get content out consistently.
And you can do Fiverr for a logo. You can go to Canva to help you with your social media. They have a free version as well as the paid version. There's tons of free website platforms. There's a lot out there. So don't limit yourself just based on lack of finances or lack of network of people. Do what you can do, and then you'll watch God platform you. And then over time, I was able to pay somebody to create the website and do the social media thing. So
in Canva, I don't know if you guys know what Canva is, but it helps you create graphics and different layouts digitally that you can use to put your information and content on for your blog or website or something like that. I also recommend for templates, Etsy sells digital templates, and
I didn't know that.
creativemarket.com. I also recommend them, which is free memberships there. And you can go and find people. They also have the logos. They have website templates. Anything kind of digital, they will have that. And other free resources.
Planoly, you can put your social media posts and you plan them ahead of time, so you don't have to do it live in the moment at 6 a.m. on Wednesday or whatever. You can plan ahead.
There you go. I didn't know that one. So now I picked up something. But Skillshare. That's the last one. Not free. That one's $9.99 a month. But if you didn't go to school for whatever this creative gift is, they have so many classes. They have for artists like figure drawing, abstract watercolor painting. They have software training for different, maybe Photoshop, or if you're interested in graphic design, they've got those trainings. They have cooking training. They have event planning, languages. This Skillshare is really quite broad, but I would say that if you're not ready to go back to school, and you don't even have to, because for a lot of creative gifts, God already kind of put it in you. So you just maybe need a little more info. So Skillshare, I would recommend that. But I wouldn't, if you can get a nest egg, like you, Shannon and I were talking earlier, maybe some people need to keep their 9 to 5. That's nothing to feel bad about.
That's great. Wise stewardship.
Yeah. So you can save some money, but if God's calling you to just step out, you know, you can do a little side hustle. I did tutoring. I did transcription work. Transcription work is hard work, but it's another little side job. So I just think the key is be encouraged and don't just perpetually wait, because you have to start somewhere.
to start. So how have you handled the mind game? So you were talking about like it's kind of nerve-wracking.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to promote somebody else. It's easy for me to say, oh my gosh, look how incredible Jacquin is. But when you actually put yourself out there and you have the mental like, am I good enough? Do I have what it takes? Are they going to laugh at me? Is this ridiculous? Is this a niche already taken and I'm just going to get lost in the shuffle? What was that like for you to overcome the mental part of entrepreneurialism?
Well, it's twofold.
Mm-hmm.
Prayer, I had to ask God to help build up my confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Our confidence should be in Him anyway. So He knew what He did when He made you. He didn't mess it up. So you got something good in you.
Yes.
But I needed Him to really
Mm-hmm.
remind me. So prayer helped with that.
Yeah.
And also doing things for free early on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's not necessarily going to get you that instant financial gratification, but it builds your confidence, you know, because the pressure is off because someone hasn't paid you large sums of money to do something, which actually, even though you're collecting money, that adds a level that can be very stressful to a new entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
So you go ahead, you invest in someone else, and they invest in you by letting you do something for you, but maybe they don't have evidence yet that you do because you're new. And then when you're done, you're saying, oh, I completed this project. They were really happy. I can add this to my portfolio. I'm feeling good. I'm building my confidence each project I do. Then by the time you're ready to take money, you're not as anxious about whether you can do it and questioning yourself so much because you've already had some practice.
That's perfect.
So, and I think you did some free work as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, especially when you're in any kind of industry. I'm in psychology. So we worked as a psychologist. That means I worked for free for about 9 years.
Oh, wow.
So when I have interns that want to be paid a lot, I'm always like, that's cute. I worked for free for literally 10 years. So then I started a business and my peers were saying to charge a certain amount. And I just felt in my spirit that one, I need to build my clientele and I don't need to overprice for my market for what I'm worth. And I don't have a base yet where I have word of knowledge or word of
mouth.
Yeah, word of mouth. And so I charged a much lower rate than they would have liked in my area, because then obviously people are going to come to me because my price is lower. But I also felt integrity wise, I am still new at this. And so I need to make sure that I'm pricing at the rate that I'm worth. And then over time, as I was more fine-tuned and I became more excellent and specialized, then I feel like there's a grace and there was a number I felt to charge at this level versus what I would have charged at the beginning. Because even if God's given you a gift, you still have to practice and develop it and hone that gift and turn it into something that's excellent versus just expecting that you should be good out of the gate and you should be able to compete with other people who've been in the industry for 20 years. That's not, that would be hubris, right? That would be so much pride to think that I should be able to just be wonderful in the first 5 years of business, when statistically most entrepreneurs fail within the first 5 years. And there's a lot of factors involved in that. And so that's why we want to make sure that we're helping you kind of recognize what are some of those blind spots. And one is maybe over marketing and spending too much money and creating a lot of debt at the onset when maybe you're not ready for that. And maybe, you know, don't despise humble beginnings. Be an intern, have a mentor, be, you know, provide free opportunity or free vases or makeup artists or whatever, so that then your name's getting out there. And that's the thing that I think for you, you've done really well. She moved to this area and didn't know anybody except her sweet husband and maybe some family members. And she's really honed a relationship base. And that's what I would recommend for you, that there is nobody who is going to cheerlead your business like you, but then also your friends, your community, the people you volunteer with, you serve with, your church, your PTA, whoever, like you develop those relationships and that is your base.
And I will say, I learned a lesson. Coming here, I tried to get involved with a ton of networking groups in the design industry because I was in the design industry. That didn't get me any business.
You're competing.
Exactly. So unfortunately, I did that for like 2 years. I wish I would have cut that off sooner. It's good for camaraderie.
Sure. And, still do it, but that's not where you're marketing.
But that's not going to get you clients. So you mentioned PTA, you mentioned church, groups where people aren't already doing this are the place to go. Now, when I'm saying it, I know it sounds like that makes sense, but you'd be surprised when you're new, you look for these certain groups, professional groups, and it seems like it makes sense, and then you're wondering why that didn't yield anything that was going to grow you financially. So for me, the professional groups, that didn't work for me. But I've actually, this PTA thing, I've heard a lot of people getting clients out of the PTA,
Absolutely,
out of different volunteering things that they do, things that are seemingly totally unrelated, and they're like, hey, I found a client there. But yeah, another thing, spending large sums of money in the beginning, nobody knows who you are yet, so you spend all this money. It might take a while before the money is rolling in, so you just are at a deficit. Now, if you have a huge nest egg, you can be a little more, you can spend a little more, and that actually might work for you if you have it to spend. But I would just say, don't go into debt over it, because it's going to take some time for people to know that you're out there with your service. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to go about it, but the key is, if God's in it, presumably it's gonna be a success, but maybe not overnight. Not overnight. I don't want to have anyone think that they're gonna break out into their creative career and be rich overnight. But that's any business, not just creative.
All businesses. And I would also recommend, try to link arms with other creatives that are different than you. So it's been fun I have some friends that are jewelry makers or fine artists or pottery, ceramics, blown glass. And then as a friend, as a connector, it benefits me in no way, but I just love connecting people. And I hope you do too, because the world will be better if we connect everybody. And then they can do a joint debut or viewing.
Love that.
And so especially with Christmas coming up, I don't know what time of year you're going to watch this video, but right now we're about to go into Christmas. And so it's fun to have an event where different types of artists are coming together, and then they have like a market or a display. And so you're tailoring it in a really sweet and unique way. And I would love to give the example of, even for one of my friends who is a jewelry maker, a beautiful woman asked, hey, I love that art, that necklace. And I was like, oh, it's my friend, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like a natural marketer because I believe in my friends. And so again, make sure that you are doing that for others. You're sowing into someone else's business when it doesn't benefit you, because you're building that relational grid and that context that then the Lord can bless and cause. You've been sowing good seed that he can then bless that back into your business. So then the woman that was like, oh, I want to know about that jewelry, I said, well, you can have my piece, which, to be honest, I did not want her to say yes. It's my favorite jewelry piece. And then she said, no, actually, I would just like to know about it and I'll buy it myself. And I was like, oh my gosh. But it opened a door because I connected them, and then they put out a market in the woman's house who's very wealthy, and all the neighbors came over and they were able to buy that jewelry. And so it was like, how fun. So my encouragement is, you never know how you can do that for somebody else, and then let your friends in your community know, hey, here's something I offer. Here's a thing I can do for free. Or if you're a speaker, you can say, hey, for, let's say Forward, that's a Christian women's professional organization. Hey, if you ever need a speaker, I'd love to do that for free, and just to bless people, to add value to this organization. So that you're always thinking, how can I add value versus how can I monetize? And the money will come when you are excellent and you have a good name and a good reputation. When you cultivate that, the Lord will prosper you, and people will turn around and be like, man, let's pick her or him for that next vendor or whatever we're going to highlight for the next event we're having.
I love those tips. And it made me think about Job. When Job prayed for his friends, his whole situation turned around. I think it's just as valuable when you're setting off in a new endeavor to sit down and think, how can I support my friends? Make a list. What can I do to boost up their small businesses? And then, when you give, then people want to give to you. It's also a biblical principle. So it's worth the time to think about supporting others. Then if you want to do a joint show of someone, if you want to ask, can I set up a booth at your such and such or so-and-so, then you've already shown support of their business, and they want to support you as well. And actually, Amazon, I love Amazon, but there are some smaller businesses sometimes that aren't on these type of outlets. So I think sometimes going out of your way to support small businesses is the type of thing that also brings you business. Just this kind of mindset that I support small businesses, you know, and I am a small business, and you know, just kind of supporting one another. So really, I know thinking about others isn't the most intuitive way to think about what's my plan for entrepreneurship, but I think it's a biblical principle that will pay off.
Absolutely. Because if somebody calls me, or they're a friend, or they want to just talk to me, and I can tell that they just want to get either money or a contract, or they want to use me, immediately all my walls go up, and I'm like not even interested in the rest of the conversation. But if I feel like somebody is genuinely interested and they really care about me and we're actual friends, like Jacquin, I will promote her business to the end of the earth. And I'm like, interior designer, fine artist. Her rugs are just incredible, and they're ethically sourced from artisans who are getting paid, and they're not being taken advantage of. Absolutely. And so those things help inspire me to want to do that, because I've never felt used. And so that's what I would also encourage. There's two spectrum of people. One, they tend to not even mention that they have their art or their talent or their gift or their business. And you need to at least let people know that you exist. So we don't want to be on that side, that you never bring it up. But then on the other side, it's really obnoxious if people bring it up all the time in a way that feels like you're a used car salesman. So we got to find that sweet middle spot with the emotional intelligence to know, what does a good friend look like? What is coming over, loving on them, serving them? You know, you're feeling sick, I want to bring you something, or let's grab coffee and get to know each other. And then in that, you can be like, oh yeah, these are the things I'm working on. I'm super excited. And if you know of anybody who's ever looking for a X in your gift, that's when you can promote it. But it's already embedded in such relational equity that the person doesn't feel used. And I think there's a lot of times that there's this kind of sleazy, slimy feel that people can have when you feel like they're just reaching out because they have a new product line and they're selling this new thing, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be used.
Yeah, you know, that's a good tip, because when people are starting off, there's a lot of pressure to get the ball rolling. Sure. And then you don't want to be that annoying person. Say, hey, did you buy my product yet? Hey, you know, if you told them once, if you told them twice, they know about it, and they will let you know if they need something. So one idea, practical idea, it's kind of along the lines of doing work for free, but it also gets you promotions. Let's say you've got local businesses, brick and mortar, I'm thinking brick and mortar businesses, who need something that you can offer for free. This is why you're getting started. Maybe photography, maybe it's makeup, so they can take their headshots, or maybe getting artwork on the wall, that's your photography, or maybe getting your painting on the wall, different things like that. Maybe it's graphic design, maybe offering to do a new logo for them. And then say, you know, in exchange, I'll do it for free. Can I put my business cards on your front desk entryway type thing, bartering services? Because you'll be surprised, you might see those business cards when you go places, and you think, oh, maybe I'm gonna put my business card up. And then you learn, well, they actually know those people. See, there we go, relationships. It's not that everybody can just come and promote their stuff in their place of business. So if you don't already have a relationship with them, but you think this is a really good place for me to promote myself, when you do something free and you don't already know the person, that's where you kind of can leverage getting promoted. And, you know, now you're getting out to an audience beyond your circle, because this is a whole new audience. You're just leaving your business information. So it actually becomes valuable to do something for free, and to sit your, you know, if they allow you to sit their cards. I mean, I think that's a fair exchange. You're doing free photography, giving them free artwork.
And they get to know your brand, and they can say it with confidence. I've had some friends say, hey, would you promote my business? And I'm like, well, to be honest, I haven't actually seen any of your product or your design or your work. So it makes it a little hard with integrity to be able to say, I can vouch for this person, they do incredible work, until I've actually seen some of that product, which does mean you have to build your portfolio. You have to build that network. And that's where we talked about the specificity of your marketing, that you can, early on, I made a very foolish decision. And this guy was so good at sales. He called me, he did the open door technique where you get them to say yes the first time, and then you talk and blah, blah, blah. And before I know it, I spent $2,000 on marketing, which I was spending $29 a month on marketing. And all of a sudden, in one check, I wrote $2,000 marketing for a high school to be in their like newsletter thing for football. And I was like, I don't even want to work with high school students. Like, that was such a bad investment. So how many out there have been approached with something and hopefully you said no, or maybe you also have been kind of taken like me. And have you ever done some marketing that you're like, oh,
well, now that you mention it, I too have fallen for what I call the banana in the tailpipe. When you realize that you just messed up and made a poor investment. For me, it wasn't advertising, but it was a market opportunity.
Okay.
Some of these markets out here are very expensive to participate in. You know, $1,000 is what I spent. So I'm in the thousand, I'm in the four-figure wasting of money myself. And I didn't investigate who is the audience.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same problem
Yeah.
that you said you ran into.
Yeah.
If you're not investigating the audience, then you don't even know if these people are relevant to what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, you know, in Hollywood, I think they say like, anytime you're being talked about good or bad, that's good, you know, because you're getting your name out there when you're an actress or something.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're a service provider, that's not true. You don't want to be mixed up with something that has nothing to do with you or that's going to bring down your brand.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I was selling contemporary abstract artwork. I sell, you know, more modern, colorful decor. And they sold me, pumped me up on this market. I didn't ask enough questions. I'm sitting here in the middle of a country western market, okay? And they wouldn't let me leave because contractually, they wanted me to stay the whole time for several days in a row. So I was just like, oh my gosh.
Time is money, people.
Yes.
Time is money.
There were some long days watching everyone else around me get customers while they were buying antlers and I don't know, other stuff. And I'm like, why am I here? And I paid for this and I paid for this. But had I asked the right questions, really investigated, is this the right market? You know, in creative things, I think even more so than other businesses are highly specific, maybe aesthetically. So then you even more so need to investigate the proper audience because everything can be very stylized in any creative business. So only certain people want country western stuff and only certain people want abstract artwork. So where are those people? And invest in figuring that out.
Yes. And then hang in the circles with the people that do want that. And again, not to manipulate and use people, but to genuinely cultivate friendship. And those are the people that you're hanging around, because word of mouth is far more effective than these huge Facebook ads or YouTube ads or whatever you can spend out there. Unless you're a large corporation that has a huge budget to do mass marketing, it's really hard to do like, you know, $60, $120 a month and actually see anything monetized from that, because you are a niche market and you have to grow your brand, grow your business. And so it'd be far more effective to show a behind the scenes of, here's me playing with my dog, or here's me decorating a flower arrangement today. And this is how I would add this. And this is a tip of the way to do that, and blah, blah, blah. So that now people have a base and they become your marketing team. And you have now created loyalty to your brand versus just a person that's on the internet that you see an ad and it's in the way, or mailers. I've seen a lot of people waste money as entrepreneurs in just sending out these mass mailers. Unless it's a very niche to that neighborhood, most people throw that stuff away because it's in the way and they don't see it as this is something that's valuable. If instead someone overhears, and this is called indirect influence, if they overhear you or someone else talking about your service, your brand, your product, that is a lot more effective than direct communication. If I say, I'm a psychologist and you should come to me because, versus me and Jacquin, and I'm like, you're not going to believe the breakthrough. Oh my gosh, I was working with this couple and they had conflict and we were able to get to the root, and we actually realized that there was an underlying belief that both of them were reenacting. And so they were starting to project in that dynamic. And when that was brought conscious, we were able to resolve it, et cetera, et cetera. Now you're like, oh my gosh, I want to know more.
That's deep. So we need Dr. Shannon.
I didn't mean to do all that. That is what I do. But I think there's a difference between direct communication, where somebody's talked at, which is traditional marketing. You're giving them information, versus somebody who feels like I'm eavesdropping on information or a product, or you're not going to believe how beautiful this sculpture was in this home. And it just created look at this picture. Isn't that beautiful? Blah, blah. And now they're like, oh, I can see myself, you know, wearing that outfit, or I can see myself placing that in my foyer. And then you've now created buy-in and interest. And once you get to their emotional brain, they're more likely to be engaged than if you just just access the prefrontal, which is the smart decision part of them, then they're just analyzing it based on the bottom dollar. And when you're in a higher market, like someone like Jacquin, her art is expensive because it's worth it. It's all original and handcrafted. So her market is not the country western resale product, right? So she needs to be at a different market where people are saying, I am emotionally drawn. That is beautiful, that piece. I just have to have it. And it connects with them. And I think the last point is, I loved how you said that you prayed over your pieces.
Oh, yes. I'm so glad you mentioned that. I think the topic of how does my gift help the kingdom?
Yes.
How does my gift help God's kingdom? Is it just a product, or can it go forth and work God's will? I think it can. I personally pray the Holy Spirit over my paintings, that when it goes into someone's home, that the Holy Spirit permeates the space, and that even though I'm not there, and they may not even know me personally, but once that goes into their space, then the Lord can kind of work in the atmosphere. And I think that you can use that same principle with other creative things, or any product, really, any product at all. So I would definitely remind people, you might be praying, you might have a quiet time and pray, already have things you're praying over, but why not pray over that product that the owner or the recipient of your service is going to get some dose of the Holy Spirit that's going to go forth and kind of be transformative.
Yeah, that's good. So there's a proverb in the New Testament where they talk about, there's the servant who squandered the seed or the gift, the talent, slaughtering it. And one person buried it and the other one invested it. There's 3 people. But anyway, you want to be the person that is using your talent and not just burying it and hiding it and saying, who am I? I'm not that talented. I'm not that good at it. To be honest, if you're new and you have no experience, you're probably not that good at it. Let's just have reality. But that's why you hone your gift. That's why you hone your talent, and you get exposure and you get practice and you watch YouTube videos and you get around other people, you get mentorship, you get apprenticeship, so that you do grow in that. I didn't become a psychologist at 19 when I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do with my life. I had to go to school and practice and internship and supervision for 10 years. And now I can do that. And I have a lot of confidence because I had a lot of training under my belt. Some of you are not using your gift because, 1, you're way too much in your head. 2, you're letting the enemy defeat you, and you're letting circumstances tell you you don't have enough money, you don't know enough people, who are you? And then 3, many of you are not doing your due diligence to hone your craft. And so we wanted to give you some practical gifts and talents and treasures today from our own foibles and good things and bad things that we've walked through, because we want to see you as kingdom ambassadors. If you are using your gift on the Celebration Mountain, if you're using your gift on entrepreneurialism or government or any other gift, you want to make sure that you are growing up that mountain so that you can be a society shaper. And now we can have original pieces of Jacquin Headen that has been prayed over in people's homes, and they don't even know why the atmosphere is different since they brought that piece into their house, or that outfit or makeup or whatever they have from you. And so we are excited for you to launch into your gift, into your business, into whatever your little side hustle until it becomes your main hustle. And we want to hear from you. So please write in the chat, what are you working on? How can we support you? What videos do you need us to do so that we can support you at 7MCulture? We want this to be a community, a vibrant place where you are encouraged, equipped, inspired, and platformed to the best of our ability to really pray into your calling and to see you flourish. We love you guys. Thank you for joining us for this episode, and we'll see you later.